Big news, everybody. Hats are back in stock on sportingchancepod.com. Select t-shirts are $10 off and sticker packs are half off. Go get them while you can. And if you want to lurcher, head on over to Clover Creek Canine on Facebook and message our friend Sean O'Neill today. For your micro hawking and redtail supplies on the East Coast, visit mountainstatefalconrysupply.com. To get the tightest braided equipment on the market, visit midnightfalconry.com. And last but not least, to add a goshawk to your hunting arsenal, go on over to northmountaingoshawks.com today to put in your order for next year's hunting partner. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Sporting Chance podcast. Today we are joined by Musher. Is it safe to call you a musher?
Yes.
Okay, musher and falconer Jonathan Hayes. And Jonathan is actually, he just informed us, the most northern falconer in the contiguous United States.
Yeah.
So as Casey said, the lower 48.
I had to come up with some fancy word to, give me some distinction here.
That's cool, though.
It's very cool. Very cool.
I don't envy you trying to find quarry, but that's still neat.
Yeah. So we don't have any rabbit here, and the nearest population of gray squirrels is in Holton, which is about 2 hours south of me. Wow. So we're snowshoe hare, partridge, and lots of waterfowl. So doing an apprenticeship with a red tail is going to be interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you can catch some snowshoes, though, if you can get into them. And you said that you may know where some are. That's
the plan. The snowshoe hare, I teach biology and did biology with the state before I became a teacher. But the snowshoe hare population does an 8-year rise and fall cycle, and the goshawk and the Canada lynx, they follow those cycles of the rise and fall of the snowshoe hare. And so my opinion has been we've been on the downward side of that cycle for a while, and so I was just like, man, this is really bad time for me to be trying to get into falconry. But I was running my dogs a couple nights ago, and we went on a new trail that we hadn't been on before, and it's at night. I got my headlamp on, and we turned off of the main trail to go down this little trail. And it was like a ping pong machine, man. There was just like snowshoe hare just shooting across the trail. And team, they tried to keep their discipline for a while, but then my whole 8-dog team just takes off into the woods after them. So yeah, it's
oh my gosh.
So let's on there.
Let's get into the mushing. So for those of you who haven't picked that up yet, mushing is racing a sled dog team, which is done in Maine. I figured that out because I went to Alaska on my honeymoon many, many years ago, and we did a little sled dog excursion up there.
Yeah.
And we were doing a ride through these trails with on sleds that had wheels. And supposedly the guides there were like competitive Iditarod sled dog people. Does that track? Is that something they would do in the off season to supplement their income?
Yeah, to make some bucks. So I've raced in Alaska. I just came back in February from reenacting the Serum Run of 1925. So I did a 21-day expedition across Alaska by dog team in January. The coldest, darkest part of the year, the subarctic. We were out. I went through the ice minus 50, minus 55, and we were out in minus 60, 65. And when we hit the blowhole on the coast with the wind chill, we were looking easily at minus 78 degrees Fahrenheit, and all blistered up. Great stories though.
Jeez. Well, this is a good callback because the one thing that really jumped out at me about the sled dogs was, well, there are a few things. One is that they're all like mutts. They're just really like ugly looking mutt dogs. They're not the nice looking huskies and stuff that you expect. They also have really bad temperaments. They were like biting, and all the sled dog trainers, like their arms were all bit up. I could tell.
Yeah.
I know what a dog bite looks like. So they had a bunch of little holes in their arms from dog bites.
Yeah.
And as I'm assuming you well know, those sled dogs piss and shit while they run.
Yeah. I would tell people that are riding my sled, don't worry, the aromatherapy is part of the package. I'm not going to charge you extra for it. As the lead dog poops while he's running, and the wheel dog steps in and kicks it up on whoever's in the sled, and they get face full of crap. So
that's crazy. Does that take any training for them to do that? Do they, like, when they start, do they want to squat?
Well, a lot of them want to run, and so if you can imagine, if you have on my expedition, I had 16 dogs on my team, and if you stopped every time one of them wanted to poop, you'd never get anywhere. So, the guys who are undisciplined, you put them further back in the team so they don't have a choice, and they catch on pretty quick.
Casey, do you think you could take a dump while you were running?
Bro, I'll just like spray it out the back and give me like propulsion forward.
Cases like I did that once, actually.
No, I was just thinking of the horses like in Central Park, and it's like all romantic on the carriage, and then like it's just like its buttholes like right there, and it's just like big logs dropping out. It's like, oh, this is lovely.
The big basket hanging off of its butt so it doesn't poop on the street.
So they don't try to squat. Like I can picture them like, you ever see like an old lady that's like, probably high on like her son's like painkillers, and she's out walking her poodle and she's not paying attention, and the dog's trying to poop, and she's just continuing to walk, and it's like dragging the dog, and the dog's kind of like, is it like that, or are they just like a horse? It's
kind of like a 2-year-old running around the house with a full diaper. They're doing that little waddle thing while they're running. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they're not like squatting and like, they're like kind of like half, kind of like you know what they're doing, but they're not like,
for sure. You definitely feel it in the power of the team too. But to something Aaron said, the traditional Arctic Spitz breed dogs are kind of like the Sherman tanks, and they've been bred to work in those conditions for 9,000 years. What Aaron witnessed in Alaska, the Alaskan Husky, is not a breed of dog. It's a mix of hound European dogs that have been bred to be fearless, that have been bred to give 100%, to just throw themselves into everything because they know the human's going to take care of them. Human's going to feed them. If they get injured, the human's going to bring them back. So the true Arctic dogs always kind of hold something in reserve. And that's why, they're not really preferred in the races. But it's also why you see these Alaskan Huskies with booties on and coats on and leggings on, because they're not built for the Arctic extremes like my dogs are.
And what do you have?
So I have a rare strain of Siberian Husky called the Seppala Siberian Sleddog. So 100 years ago this year, Leonard Seppala, who owned Balto, the cartoon Balto, he owned Balto and Togo. He was instrumental in saving the children of Nome from an outbreak of diphtheria. And so after that, he moved to Maine with his team of dogs and started his own strain of Siberian Huskies called the Seppala Siberian. So most of the Siberians you'll see in town and, for sale, they haven't been in harness for generations, and they've been bred for looks. They've been bred for, symmetrical markings and sitting on someone's couch. My dogs, every generation of my dogs from 100 years ago to now have been in a working kennel, and they've been bred for performance instead of looks like other Siberian Huskies have. So they're what Siberian Huskies were 100 years ago before the show ring got a hold of them and screwed them up.
Makes perfect sense. So nobody's really using like, what you would think of when you think of Siberian Husky for like that kind of races. They'd be stupid to do that.
Yeah, there are people who still do it, but the race times, I'll just to put this in perspective, I don't think it was last year. The year before last, I think it was Jason Mackey came in last place in the Iditarod. His last place finish time would have been a first place finish time just 10 years ago. So, the nutrition, the genetics, the training, everything is just, it's just mounting so quickly and so exponentially that a traditional Arctic Spitz breed dog wouldn't be able to keep up. But what I saw, their dogs wouldn't be able to handle what my dogs did in January in the coldest, darkest time of Alaska for 21 days, coats to them were a liability, because, they came prepackaged with nature's coats,
Are they shooting dogs up with athletic supplements like Casey takes?
Dude, I was just about to ask that. Like, how can I get my dogs to like not stop in the field?
Yeah, it's the tea, man. It's the tea.
No, it's not the tea. It's the cocaine.
Yeah. So, there's been a lot of accusations about that. One Iditarod champion got accused of it, turns out falsely. And, but he got so angry as the Iditarod champion. He got so angry for being falsely accused. He boycotted the Iditarod for a couple of years and went and raced in Norway. But he's back in action now. His name's Dallas CV. He's a really cool guy. And so, yeah, there's always those allegations going around. And also, there's a lot of sleep deprivation. So mostly there's a lot of accusations of the humans using the drugs just to stay awake for 9 days straight.
Dude, I would totally use cocaine. I have no problem with it. The only thing end of story. The only thing that stops me is that I have that personality, and people that have done it, they tell me that I should not ever even think of trying it just to dabble.
Let me second that opinion.
So yeah, I'm a Christian, and I try to avoid using too much, of anything like that. But I always said if I was going to do drugs, the drug of choice for me would be the hallucinogenics, because, would love to, see what a spirit journey would be like. But no, haven't messed around with it.
Yeah, see that stuff.
Where do you think that burning bush came from?
Right.
Oh, all right. That's blasphemy. Thanks, Aaron. That freaks me out, doing hallucinogenics where I'm not in control. If I'm on coke, I know I'll probably just be a more efficient person. I'll answer my customers faster. I'll get jobs done quicker. I'll never stop beating brush. You know what I mean? The field with my birds. I think that like uppers are I think they're a beneficial drug. And I'm a Christian too, but it comes from nature. So weed, and coke,
mushrooms,
heroin. No, I'm just kidding. It's
the good Lord wouldn't have put it here if he didn't.
It's all from plants.
At the end of the day, everything on the planet's natural, right? But
not me. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
All right, so you opt for a more traditional experience than the souped up, dialing it in to the nth degree.
I did it. Mitch CV is a 3-time Iditarod champion. I went up and raced out of his kennel with his dogs. So I've been on that side of things. I've been mushing for 30 years. So I've played with pretty much every breed that's out there. But for me, I really love working with a breed of dog that's been designed by the Inuit people for 9,000 years to do what they're doing. It's like you take a duck and you take a duckling and you put it in water for the first time and it swims. That's kind of how these guys are. And they are slower, but they're much more winter hardy. And I managed a dog sled tour business in the White Mountains, 160 dogs for 2 years. I was there about 15 years ago. And tourists would come by and, they'd look at the traditional huskies and then they'd look at the racing huskies and, they'd ask, the question always is asked, are the dogs cold? And I tell people, is a polar bear cold? Is an Arctic wolf cold? Is a fox cold? No, they're not cold. But when they're looking at these hounds, these racing hounds, I couldn't really say that with as much, integrity, if you know what I mean.
They do seem to like the cold, right? The husky type dogs.
They live for it. And it's like, there's two things that makes them seem like they're on crack. And one is when the temperatures drop below 30 degrees, and the colder it gets, the more insane they get. And the other, of course, is switching them over to raw meat, which we do a lot during the wintertime.
Do you have any dogs that keep like, so everybody that listens to the show, not to make it about, I'm always trying to get like free advice from people that are on the show, but I have a dachshund, Franny. Everybody knows Franny. She's mentally unstable. We all know this. Anybody that's seen me put her in a crate, she'll go ballistic. Her coat is pretty thin, right? All summer, she's nice and thick, chubby. I'm feeding her as much as she wants. And now that the weather is starting to turn, I'm literally watching like her get skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. Like, is there like, what keeps weight on a dog the best? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the downfalls of my particular breed is it's hard to keep weight on them. So this is something that I've had to master. And what I've discovered is, when they're not working, they're not eating. And this is just my breed. It may or may not apply to your Dachshund, but if my dogs are not putting out work, they're not going to eat food. They're just going to snub their nose at it. And if you think about it, the Arctic is a desert. Meals are few and far between. So they have evolved in a place where, and they have the lowest metabolism of any breed dog. So they're just going to shut themselves down when they can get away with it. But when they start working, they just start becoming ravenous. So working her more, exercising her more is going to get her eating more and then putting on the muscle. But there are just some dogs, and some of my dogs are better than others, but there are some dogs out there that just won't eat if they're not working. And also you've got the issue of heat cycles and stuff like that. If she's not fixed, and she's feeling she's feeling her every 6-month mood, she can come off her food pretty quick for that too. Yeah.
That might be what's going on, and that's all it takes. And with the weather, and I run the crap out of her, and she's just so small. So I'm going to make some changes. Like Maggie, the dog I got from Aaron, she's like a tank. Holds weight nice. She's super fit.
What do you feed her?
I feed him everything. I feed him rabbit.
Oh, Roy.
What, Aaron?
Oh, Roy.
I feed him like as high nutrition. Gibbles and bits. Yeah, and like last year, I started doing like egg yolks and like just pounding like ground meat and fat.
I should have assumed you'd be doing that right. But yeah, I mean, you cannot outdo what God intended for these dogs, and that is they're carnivores. They're not omnivores. They're not vegans. They're carnivores. They want meat. And
it's a very controversial thing for you to say.
Well, we can get controversial as you want.
Oh, you don't want to know how controversial I can get on here. No, okay. So thank you. That's good. It's a problem. Her coat is a little thinner too. So all right, enough about Franny.
It's counterintuitive, but I swear to you, and you've probably already seen it last year because it sounds like this isn't her first season. But the more you work her, you'd think the skinnier she's going to get. But I just got into fall training with my dogs, and they just don't eat all summer long. And when I start working them, they just start packing on the muscle, start beefing out because, we're going on training runs every other night. So
you train at night predominantly?
Well, I mean, you have to. I'm a school teacher, so I get out early. I get out at 3:00, but man, the sun's setting right now at 4:15 up here, and there's really no way. And, when I say training runs, I mean, once we really get into it, we're doing 30, 40 miles a night at 10 miles an hour. And so, you're talking about a 6 to 8 hour night after I get home from work, running the dog. So, and that's why when, and it's good that falconers tell potential apprentices, this is a lifestyle. It's not a hobby. And, but I'm like, yeah, I get it. I mean, if you've been mushing for 30 years and, and taking care of, right now I got 20 dogs in the yard, and that's small for a working kennel. If you're taking care of 20 dogs every day, that's, it's a lifestyle. I mean, you can't park them like you do a snowmobile or a four-wheeler. It's a 365 commitment.
Do you keep them the traditional way, staked out?
Yeah, I keep them tethered. I actually wrote an article about that really just went flame wars erupted everywhere, about why tethering is actually better. And, there's a long list of why tethering is better for the dogs.
Now, just those particular types of dogs, or all dogs in general?
Well, I was specifically talking about my dogs because it's, what I have experience with, Arctic Spitz breed dogs. But so, I mean, in general, I mean, obviously, if you have a pet and you want to keep it in the house, that's the best way to go. But not only are they acclimated, not only are they able to interact with each other better, and I'm sure you guys have seen it. If you put a barrier between two dogs, if you put a fence up between two dogs, you've seen those videos, right? Those reels where two dogs are like wanting to go at each other, and then they move the gate out from between them, and then they're like best buddies, and they put the gate back and they want to kill each other again. So there's that psychological aspect of it, but especially up here where you get so much snow, if you have your dogs in fenced kennels, you're really limiting the amount of time you can spend with those dogs and your ability to interact with those dogs, because between the snow and the wind, you're going to spend half your day just shoveling out pen doors, to get in and out to your dogs. Whereas I can walk into my dog yard after a 5-foot snowstorm and just walk up to every single dog, and interact with every single dog without anything inhibiting their interacting with each other. So there's a lot of, and athleticism, these guys, they're always, running and spinning, and they don't do that in pens. And then finally, not to go on and on, but the square footage that my dogs have per dog on a swivel tether system is way more than they'd have if they were in a pen.
Yeah.
Well, so for falconry birds, my experience is that they're generally more tame if they're tethered, versus free lofted. Do you find that the dogs are easier to manage? And I mean, dogs are domestic, so it's probably not.
Yeah, and you hit on another thing. Oh, by the way, you guys like my shirt? Check that out.
I love it.
Oh, heck yeah.
It.
Nice shirt.
And you just hit on something else, unwanted breedings, dog fights. If you're talking about letting them live in open groups, dog fights, digging out of the pen. I had a guy who, I know a guy who had one of his best dogs try to jump the fence and hang himself with his collar. I mean, it's just like, you guys think you're doing better. And again, this is just my opinion. I know that you'll get someone else on next week that'll say just the opposite. But, my opinion is, you think you're doing better by the dog by getting it off a chain. But from a training perspective, you put a yearling puppy on a chain, he's learning how to negotiate that chain. Like when he's playing and he's moving around, he's jumping the chain. He's not getting tangled in the chain. He's figured that out. So when you take that dog and you put that dog on a gang line with 16 dogs, he's already figured out how to, work around that line without, getting himself tangled up.
And your dogs are getting stimulation like nothing else when they're, mushing 40 miles or whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. My problem is not, do they get cold in the winter? My problem and my goal during the summer is just to keep them cool. And then once the temperatures start dropping into the 40s, we hit it. So
have you seen the videos, and I'm sure you have, of the guys who do the guys up in the Arctic that have freaking polar bears walking around their dogs that are tethered out?
Yeah.
I guess that's not uncommon.
No, it's not. And I'll tell you this story. It's just so hardwired into the DNA of the dogs, that hunting and protecting the village and all that stuff. When I was up in Alaska, 2/3 of my expedition, it was 750 miles. 2/3 of the expedition was in the interior, but the last third was going to be something I'd never experienced before. It was traveling in extreme winds and the ice of the coast. And, I'd never done that, more than 200 miles of polished ice and gale force winds. And I was nervous. I mean, that was like the reporters were asking me before I went, what scares you? I'm like, the coast scares me. It's the one thing I can't replicate here in the Northeast. And I've never done it before. My dog's never done it. But anyway, if you've watched the movie Togo, that Disney put out a couple of years ago, you'll see that in 1925, Leonard Seppala crossed the Bering Sea ice twice to save time instead of going around it. It's a 20-mile stretch going right across the ocean. You're on ocean ice. The tides and the waves are underneath it. And so we made the decision to do that. And my dogs were, they were going just the way I wanted them to. And then they'd bang a hard left and turn the afterburners on like they would when they see wild game. And I'm like, what the heck? There's nothing out here. They're turning me toward the ocean. What's going on? And I'd correct them and get them back on course. And then they turn a hard right and just turn the afterburners on. Now, what is going on? And so finally, I just let them take me to what they were going to. And it was seal holes. After 100 years of being away from the Arctic, in their head, they were on a seal hunt with their human, and they were leading me to where the seal were. And they had never been there. It's amazing. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
God, that's fascinating. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say they're going to run into a polar bear or something.
Yeah, thankfully no, because even my 44 mag, I'm just go ahead and eat me. Just do it. Just eat me.
And that's where they would be, I'm assuming, on the coast.
Yeah, on the coast.
Polar bears.
Yeah. On the coast, yeah.
I was talking to somebody recently, and they informed me that my dreams of shooting a polar bear and bringing the fur back and the skull, I can't do it. They said there's no legal way to do it, and they were telling me that they know that their dad has a antique polar bear fur.
Okay,
Casey, why do you have that look on your face?
Because I want one, and it's the stupid Coca-Cola, bear and this and that. Like, you can hunt them.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to shoot something that I can't, enjoy.
I have a lot of Inuit friends in around the Hudson Bay of Canada. They hunt them a lot, and obviously they have things they can do that we can't do because of their heritage. But I for some reason I do think that a Canadian polar bear hunt would probably be easier to land, even for an American, than an Alaskan polar bear hunt.
I don't think you can bring the goods back, which then what's the point, right?
Well, I live just, I can see the border from my kennel, and during the wintertime, the river's frozen. So I got you.
You can just put the skull on the border and just walk over to the edge and look at it.
Yeah, until Dennis and Tammy's other apprentice catches you with his thermal drone night vision.
Yeah.
Yo, that guy, dude, I do not want to get caught out trying to sneak into America with that guy.
I think he'd jam you up real quick.
Oh, he would. He'd be like, "Oh, I don't care that we're friends.
That's
Get
funny.
on the ground."
That's funny.
No, he's a good guy.
Yeah,
he's a great guy.
He's a cool guy. And
yeah, he's telling me crazy stories. Is like Somalian dudes like run around, and he's got to find them. It's crazy. It sounds like fun, to be honest with you.
When I got out of college, my first job here in the state was as a forest ranger for the state, and I was up in the Northwoods with the Border Patrol agents all the time. And there's one guy, man, he had magazines all over him. He had the fully auto, and like, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? This is the Quebec border. What are you doing? And he had just come up from the southern border, and he was like, man, he said, I'm falling asleep. This is horrible. He said, after so many runs, they got like the trucks with the off-road suspension down there, and they're chasing after, drug cartels. And then he comes up here and he's just falling asleep on the Quebec border. So it's usually a lot more dull up here.
being friends with Inuits, have you ever had anything that they eat that we couldn't really eat here?
Yeah. So, just for a note, what I'm about to say, some people might find a little offensive because they don't know any better. We're trained to think that the word Eskimo is a derogatory term. And for many of the Inuit peoples around the north, it is, but not in Alaska. The Alaskan Eskimo actually prefer the term Eskimo and will get ticked at you. Many of them will get ticked at you if you call them Inuit. But in Unalakleet and in Nome and in Chaktulik, had whale. I got to eat whale. See, what else did they give me? There are a lot of regional delicacies, different kinds of fish eggs and stuff like that the natives eat. But mostly it was I think the Ballina whale. Is that right? But mostly it was whale that I got to eat there that I didn't. If you're not married to an Eskimo or eating at an Eskimo's house, you can't have that food. But so it was really cool.
What is that like?
I felt like it was like eating a rubbery. It was rubbery in texture, but the flavor was like eating butter. So it tasted like butter, but the texture was really rubbery. If that makes any sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. So not particularly good.
I enjoyed it. The other guys on my expedition team, they were like, no, I think they're, kind of, meat and potatoes kind of guys. But if anyone anywhere in the world will call it food, I'll give it a try. In fact, you guys were talking about beaver backstraps a couple weeks ago, and I had some nuisance beavers on my property. And so I fried up some beaver backstraps. They were really good. So
you agree?
I'm pretty adventurous when it comes to food.
I love the smell of beaver.
Yeah, it was really good.
That faint castor smell.
You might already know this, but like on the expedition, we had salmon, beaver, we had chicken skins, and we had beef. But beaver is by far the absolute best meat you can feed dogs if they're working and if it's cold. It is so rich, though, that it's often too rich of a diet for dogs if they're not really, really performing hard.
That's what you need for Franny, Casey.
Yeah, I was like this whole time my brain's been, I'm like, I'm going to stake her out in the front yard, feed her fish. She's going to friggin' bulk right up, but maybe a little beaver.
Yeah.
It's good. I tried a bunch of stuff and she'll turn her, she puts it on, but I have to be extremely deliberate with what I feed her. I have to be on top of it.
You think she's got such a tiny stomach? Like you got to fill it with really nutritious stuff.
Exactly. And she doesn't really eat. Like she eats like a bird.
Yeah.
I've gotten to where I can smell the castor glands when I get near water that has beaver in it, which is funny because I couldn't smell skunk until I was bitten by a skunk. And now I can.
What do you mean you couldn't smell skunk? I've heard you say that a bunch of times. Like, what is that? What do you mean by that?
We would drive by skunks or be outside and people would go, I smell skunk. And I could not smell it. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then when
my wife on our honeymoon, she said alcohol.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it smells like normal. Yeah.
And then when I got bit and leaked on my hands, then from that point on, I could smell it. No problem. I could walk out in the yard and go, there's a skunk out here.
So I could recognize it.
I have my my main trapping license, and I've trapped coyote and fox in the past. I would love to run trap line someday when I get old enough to calm down and not run, 250 mile, 300 mile races and 700.
You could do it on your sled.
Yeah. Run a trap line by dog sled would be really cool. But the reason why I got these fox was my neighbor had a big lodge, had a big dam on his property, and he got tired of them. So he got one of those, whatever you call it, front end loader or whatever, and ripped out their lodge and ripped out their dam. I was at my kennel when he did it, and my road went from bone dry to flooded by about 2 2.5, 3 feet because all of that water was coming down. And, I said, as long as it doesn't do any permanent damage to the road, no big deal. It's fine. Then the beaver decide they're going to move to my road and turn my road into their new dam. And so I kept ripping up the dam. And so I set some traps, and they were setting off my trap. I'm not a good trapper for beaver, apparently. So they kept setting the traps off, and I wasn't catching them. And then my son, who's an Afghanistan veteran, who's been back for a year, and he's just like lighting up the river. And then there's just 2 40, 50-pound beavers just like flopping around and coming to the surface. And so, yeah, that's what my dogs have been mowing on for the last few days.
So if it's not shot with lead, beaver is good hawk food too.
So I was talking to Dennis and Tammy Karekas about that just today, because what I did was I had a trapper come in and set traps because I don't have time. I teach at a school, I pastor a church, I have 20 sled dogs, and now I'm into falconry. So I can't be playing patty cake with beaver. So one of the local trappers came in, and he's leaving me the beaver meat and taking the pelt. So it's a good deal.
That's a great deal.
Very good deal.
Very good deal.
My mouth was watering when I was up there seeing all those beaver lodges. that state is ate up with beaver.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm probably going to trap a handful this year down here as I have time.
Yeah. So I did notice you were into trapping when I looked over your Facebook profile. That's really cool.
Yeah, I got into it last year. My dad was a trapper when he was a kid in West Virginia. But it's not something I ever had much interest in until recently.
Dennis says that muskrat's even better than beaver for the hawks, for the falconry.
Casey would agree.
100%. Yeah, it's if you could just find a trapper and just work something out with him, make sure that he's not like leaving stuff out to rot, and he can get it to you. Like these guys, some of them, they'll just charge you by the pound. Shoot. And it's like not expensive at all, and it's just as good, if not better, than quail. You know what I mean? Quail
there in Maine, as long as it's during the winter, it's going to be frozen solid, right?
Well, he left me this last beaver, and I mean we've been in the mid 30s in the day and mid 20s at night already. So, which has been really helping me with manning this red tail because he's hungry.
Yeah, tell us. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, this is something I've wanted to do, pretty much my whole life. I mean, I'm not a my side of the mountain story. In fact, I read that book after I got into, doing my test and everything, and I was like, what's the hubbub about? But for me, it was Lady Hawk. I don't know if you guys saw that movie from the 80s, but
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, it was. Anyway, yeah. So Lady Hawk's this knight that turns to a wolf during the day, and his lover. They've been cursed, so his lover turns into a hawk. No, she turns into a hawk during the day, and he turns into a wolf at night, so they can never be together. But during the day, he has his hawk and does falconry, and so that was a really cool movie rather. And so I saw that when I was a kid, and just. I was always catching animals and bringing them home, and I've had a way with canids my whole life, and just been kind of ever since I got out of the Marine Corps. I was moving to Maine in my 20s, and this old dude from Maine said, "If you're going to move to Maine, you'd better find a way to enjoy the winters, and don't just try to wait them out indoors, or you're going to go crazy." So I love dogs, I love the snow, so just put the two together. And I'd never met a musher. I'd never, seen a dog sled team, and just dove in, and kind of doing the same thing with falconry now. I tested the waters with it 15 years ago with he's passed away now, but the state falconer was kind of letting me come over, and I got to see his peregrine. And but I went through a divorce, and so decided it wasn't a good time for me to take that on. And this time around, Tammy Karekas, who is the state secretary for the club here, offered to take me on as her apprentice. And man, her and her husband have been so great. I mean, we're on, I'm sending her video updates. She's sending me, advice, and it's funny, cause I get to listen to both of them. It's like I have two sponsors, and they both are giving me different advice. And the cool thing with Tammy is even, Brandon Hunter in Ohio, he and I were chatting, over the last couple months. He's been on my podcast. And she's like all about me getting advice from everywhere and, finding the way that works for me. I'm really grateful for that because, I get it when you want to say, no, do it exactly this way and only this way because I said so. If the person's not a real studious person, but, I've just been, I've learned everything I need to know from Sporting Chance. So, that's
right.
It's the best teacher.
I've been to the College of Sporting Chance, so no one can tell me anything.
That's it. Yeah. Aaron runs a tight ship with his apprentices. They have to do everything he says. Otherwise it's over for them. They go to jail, falconry jail.
Yeah. I have, do you want me to rail on them for a little bit?
I think you should. And, I think I was also thinking that we should have them on, and we could talk about.
So I can just berate them on air.
No, I'm gonna ask them questions, and they're gonna out you, and then you can refute it. It's gonna be very entertaining.
So you want to get them dropped? That's what you want to do? No,
you're not gonna drop them. They're doing their job. They're doing their job. They're getting out there. They're getting after it.
It's a strange thing, the apprentice-sponsor relationship. And the bottom line is that, your apprentices are a reflection of you, and they're attached to you for the rest of your falconry career and their falconry career. So one day, if you go out and you're really sucking, people find out that you were Tammy's apprentice, it's going to reflect on her.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're going to be like, man, damn Tammy for letting him into the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am a tough teacher. I really am. I'm stern but fair. Stern but fair. I say this though, when I tell you definitively do or don't do something, listen up, because I don't say that too often.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if he has to say it twice, it's going to be problems for you.
Big problems. Big problems.
Isn't he like 6'6" and 300 pounds or something?
And he's got orangutan arms on top of it, so you definitely can't get away from him. He's like Bigfoot, but he's a human.
Dude, we were doing a falconry workshop, and I was showing a video of me flying my goss, and I heard somebody in the crowd say, "It's Bigfoot, it's Sasquatch," when I was like, coming across the screen.
When your knuckles are dragging.
Yeah, arms swinging to and fro. So, but I think back to you, I think that it makes a lot of sense for somebody who's interested in mushing to also be interested in falconry. And so it seems like a match made in heaven. And Casey had mentioned this off air earlier. Are you planning on incorporating the dogs and the hawk into some trips?
So, there's this beautiful idea in your head of, mushing, with your hawk. And obviously that's probably going to be in the giant hood, but, and until you're ready to pull it out. But, this mental picture of bringing those together the way that, someone on horseback with a hawk would do. And I didn't want to say it out loud because I didn't want people to think I was a Fruit Loop. So, I just had this in the back of my head, one day, once I get this hawk trained, I'm going to hunt from the back of my dog sled team with this hawk. And, that's going to be the most BA thing ever, but I'm not even going to say it out loud. Right. So,
sounds like a shit show to me.
Yeah, it could turn into one real easy, but, I was looking, my mentor in mushing, the 3-time Iditarod champ, Mitch Seavey, has got me to where I'm not doing in-trail turnarounds anymore. I have to find a loop to turn my dogs around and come back, because you should never have your team thinking they could turn around in the trail. And the reason I bring that up is because I've been looking for new trails, new loops to go on. And this week I found this new little loop that went through this grown-up field, just got brush 4 or 5 foot tall. And I haven't been seeing a lot of snowshoe hare. And I turned into that field, and it was like a ping pong game, where the ball just goes back and forth. There were just like snowshoe hare just shuffling everywhere. And, my falconry brain kicked in, and I was like, oh, I know where I'm going. I found me a sugar spot. So that's good.
If the freaking Canadian lynx don't clean it out before the season.
Yeah. On a mile away, they're not endangered, but on this side of the border, they are.
It's crazy.
They're endangered there.
You can trap bobcat here, but you can't trap Canada lynx because in Maine they're endangered. But if you literally look across the river, they're not endangered across the river in Canada.
I wonder if they're endangered in every state.
That's like goshawks in New Jersey. You can't. I don't know if you can take a passage. You have to get it from New York, because in New Jersey they're endangered. If you want to trap a passage bird, it's endangered. Like you're trapping it in New Jersey, like it's it's like ridiculous. It's so stupid.
Yeah, I bet it would really tear Phil up to see a goshawk in Jersey and not be able to trap it because it's endangered.
That's why he only traps in the states that he's allowed to trap them in.
That's right. But in reality, do people actually see them in Jersey?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I had a video on a camcorder when me and Phil were hawking, driving back from hawking, and there's a Tiercel Passage goshawk sitting in Paramus, New Jersey, sitting in front of a office building plucking a pigeon. And I said, "Oh, look at that! There's something plucking a pigeon." We turn around, we pull into one of the parking spaces in this office building, and we thought it was a coops. We just pulled in to look at it. I was a kid. Phil had no kids, so we had all the time in the world to like do stupid stuff like that. Now we'd be like, I gotta get home. My wife's gonna kill me. So we pull in. I pull out the camcorder and I start zooming in on it. It's a freaking Tiercel goshawk right there in Paramus, New Jersey, highway going by, eating a pigeon right in front of us.
So you think they're resident? Do you think they live there, or
no? It was coming through. No, it was hawking season. We were out hawking. It's just cruising through. I mean, they've been seen in Long Island. I think last year there was like 1 or 2 sighted in Long Island cruising through. I mean, yeah, they come down. There was a nest in Jersey for many years, famous nest. They had to put up, like every year, Fish and Wildlife would put up caution tape around it in like 100-yard radius because, the Audubon Society bird watching people, us falconers, we love to disturb wildlife and stuff like that. But they would never disturb a goshawk nest in Jersey by getting too close. So, yeah, they had to take drastic measures to keep the bird watchers out of that one nest. And it was there for like 10 years, maybe even more years in a row before they just disappeared. But yeah, they're there for sure.
I'm in some birding groups to do some reconnaissance in case
I do the same thing here in Maine.
Infiltration.
And it's funny. I joined one, and one of the questions was, yes or no, raptors belong in the wild.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, of course they belong in the wild. Yeah, absolutely.
If they're not in the wild, you can have hunting partners.
But there's some hot button issues in those groups. Like apparently people will bait raptors so they can get good pictures of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're all they want to be falconers, but they can't wrap their head around it.
They can't pass the test.
They can't pass the test. They can't bring themselves to do it, but they want every bit as bad as we do to spend time with birds and watch them do what they naturally do. They've been brainwashed into thinking that it's wrong when it's not. Same way we've been using dogs. We've been using birds of prey.
Yeah.
Horses. It's all the same thing.
And that's the common thread is working with the symbiosis of working with an animal. And I try to help people to understand that like these animals would not be as successful as they were they not in this symbiotic relationship with us. Even domesticated animals, cattle, horses, all that stuff. The only reason why they propagated all over the planet is because we eat them, and because they serve a purpose to us. If they didn't, and we hadn't domesticated them, they wouldn't be used. They wouldn't be as prolific as they are. And so it's been a good deal for them. And the same goes for falconry. It's really, in the long term, it's only giving back to what we have out in the outdoors.
So you were telling us earlier that you had some difficulty finding red tails in northern Maine.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on them for a while. I mean, usually when someone becomes a falconer, it's something that they've been contemplating for a long time. And so, and I took ornithology in college and, all that stuff. And we have some goshawks up here. We have a ton of kestrel up here, some merlins, but I don't see red tail up here. And there's a reason for it. We're in potato country, and the potato plant is not edible, not by deer. It's not edible by rabbits. So we've got, hundreds and hundreds of miles of stuff that, prey species can't eat. So it just, it's not great for the prey species for a red tail. So I see them in the spring going God knows where into Canada, and I see them coming down from Canada in the fall. But I say both my sponsors, Tammy and Dennis, myself, you guys mentioned Robert, who's their apprentice over in Caribou, and a couple of falconers downstate. We spent a solid month, 3 and 4 weekends. And for a month, we did not see a single juvenile. We saw plenty hags, but no juvenile. So I was just about ready to give up when we landed these two, and thanks in large part to Robert and to Dennis and Tammy. So with this trapping and catching these guys, I said, Lord, I'm going to take as long as it's healthy, I'm going to be happy with whatever red tail I get, and that's going to be whether it's a tiercel or not. That's going to be the one I'm going to work with, and I think we're going to call him Floki, but not really sure yet. But he's turning into a great bird. And despite everyone was saying he was an asshole when we trapped him, because for the first 24 hours he was wanting to foot everybody, but he's taming down so quick, and he and I built a rapport with each other. Today's day 4, and he's flying to my fist, so I'm pretty pumped.
How big is he?
So our goal weight, he's right around the 900 grams. He's been a little above, a little below. And, Tammy said, for a target right now, we'll put in like 830 for a target weight for right now, and maybe adjust that later. And, he didn't come in skinny. He was trapped at 897, I think. He didn't come in skinny, but he's been, day one, the first day of manning, he was, taking food from my glove. So, it's been a good run.
Yeah. You're going to be ruined after this bird. I have a feeling. You sent me a couple of videos and you're like day 4, and I'm looking at the video. I'm like, day 4, that's like day 14, dude. The thing's like hopping and coming right along. Like, you're going to be ruined. It's never going to be that easy again. He's a great little bird. It's not even that little either.
I hope you're wrong, but you're probably right. Everyone likes to think that they're the hawk whisperer or whatever. But I have worked with horses and then with dogs for the last 30 years, and I know there's a big difference in wild raptors and domesticated animals. But I do think that there's a certain type of person that animals respond to better than others. And it's the same with people. And if a man has a calm, assertive presence, where he's calm, but you can tell that he's confident, and you have those two things together, it seems like animals seem to really respond well to that.
I have all of those things except the calm part.
And the confidence is thinly veiled too.
No, it's there, but I'm like overcompensating like super heavily. No, but so are you teaching? You got to teach him the mushing language. Can you teach us a little mushing language?
Yeah. So
don't you you yell out stuff, right? You're like schnugen, fragen, and then
we don't yell mush. They only do that in the movies. Most mushers use hike, or hike or something like that. And all of the hipster mushers, they say, "Okay, you ready? Hike."
I hope they freeze to death, those guys, to be honest with you.
They put the "okay, ready" in front of it, and I'm like, "Oh, what is that?"
I hope their whole mush team just
Are you
rips them
afraid you're
apart.
going to scare the dog by just saying hike?
They don't want to offend anybody, those guys.
No, I mean, and there are reasons why they do it, but anyway, everyone's got their way. So hike is usually what we use to get them to go. Whoa, to get them to stop. And G is to turn them right. Haw is to turn them left. You don't have any steering on your sled. The dog, and once you get over like 5 dogs, the only control you have of that team is their perception of your control and their respect for you over 5 dogs, because you really can't hold, I just mushed across Alaska with 16 dogs. You can't control the power of 16 dogs. You can't do it. They have this notion that you can. So the G and Haw comes from back in the gold rush. All of these people from the lower 48 that were used to running oxen and running teams of horses, they were using G and Haw on the farm with their draft animals. And so when they went up to Alaska for the gold rush in the early 1900s, they took those terms with them. So that's where that came from.
Fascinating. Yeah, I knew there was like a little language that you speak. So now, just like on a practical basis, and I agree with you 100%, like keeping yourself calm. I've been getting better in the field with my dogs. Just if I'm irritated about something, like my dogs 100%, they understand curse words 100%.
Yeah.
So if I start dropping curse words in the field, they start getting nervous.
Yeah.
And then they start thinking they're in trouble. And no matter how much I tell them they're not in trouble, they still think they're in trouble.
Right.
So, but at a certain point with your dogs, if in the beginning, with what you do, I can see how it would be a little bit easier, and not easy, but where you're rotating young dogs in and keeping it going. Mm-hmm. But is there ever a point where like you need to like push that little wooden brake thing on and like get off and just like get the circus whip out and just start, what do you do? We don't have to go into detail allegedly.
Yeah,
but,
we don't carry whips, but some we call it hard on the collar. Some mushers are harder on the collar than others. I guess by modern standards, people would say I'm old school because I believe in sticks and carrots. I don't mean literal sticks, but I believe, that you do the carrots, you do the positive reinforcement and you do the negative reinforcement. And, that's the fastest way. And the key, and this is what I was trying to explain to my junior musher who just got his first puppy that's, been a little hellion. And I went over and was just showing him some techniques to, show him how to let the dog know that he's in charge, still having fun, but, I'm in control here. I win every game. And you just have to understand, getting that down, just helping him to understand that it's actually for the best for the dog in the long run. It's just like child rearing. It's for the best for the child in the long run if you're very clear and concise and the rules are very cut and dry from the very beginning. And, you get all of that established, the discipline established, the structure established very early on, and then you can grow into that relationship of fun and having a good time with them.
Yeah, it's abusive. But anyway,
all right. When we get off air, you can tell us about how you beat your dogs. Okay.
well, I mean, anybody that runs dogs at any serious level, dogs, they speak one language. Like they don't speak English.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, like I got this Sprocker Spaniel, and I spoke her language a couple times. She does not jump up on me. She does not bite my pant leg. She does not try to grab my hands, teething. It does not happen with me. But with my son, my wife, so like I'm trying to like tell them what to do, but not like my son. I don't want him, but he'll run through the yard and she's like latched onto his pants, like he's falling down, like she's trying to take down a freaking elk or something. And I'm like, don't let her do that to you.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, what do I do? I said, you tell her no. And if she keeps doing it, At a certain point, you have to just hold her by her and hold her down and just say no to her and don't let her do it.
Yep.
I'm not going to tell him to like hit the dog because, he's a 6-year-old that's, you don't know, these kids are, they want to try stuff out.
You don't want to traumatize him.
And pinning.
Yeah, exactly, Aaron. I just see him like with my dog, like he's got it by the throat. And he's like, "Stop biting me!" My animals start missing, and I find him like dissected in my shed or something. Yeah, okay. Anyway.
But pinning them and using your hands as a mouth, like you were saying, is exactly what to do. And I mean, I know you guys both work with dogs, and Aaron breeds dogs, especially with these Arctic Spitz breed dogs are extremely intelligent and they're very physical. So for me, I'll just give you this example. This guy got a dog from me, spoiled it. I love the guy. He's a friend of mine. Spoiled it rotten for 3 years, and then decided he's going to move out of state and gave the dog back to me. So I'm trying to blend her into the kennel because if she's going to live here and eat my food, she's going to earn her keep, right? So I'm teaching her to the harness and everything. She had never been forced to do anything she did not want to do until the day I'm hooking up a team and trying to put her on. And she bit me twice, and I haven't been bit in like a decade. And so I've got a buddy working on my 4-wheeler, and the first time she bit me, I, put her down on the ground, put my weight on top of her, and I'm just holding her down, and she's and I've got my hand in, and I'm talking to her, and I'm like, look, you're going to wear this harness, and we're going to go over to the team, and it's all going to be okay. And talking to her and slowly letting off. My buddy's working on my 4-wheeler. He comes over and he's trying to talk to me, and I'm like fighting with this dog who's, trying to bite me and rip my arm off. But let her up, went to put the harness on. She went to bite me again. Boom, right back down on the ground again. But all of that energy she has is once I get her on the team, man, she's like explosive. And I'm like, yes, she's explosive once she gets in harness and gets going. But her second run, she's starting fights with other dogs on the team. Went up there, boom. I'm the only alpha around here, and you got to understand that.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, and like I said, people can speculate all they want, but anybody that works with dogs at any level, you have to assert yourself, and you don't have to get like a crazy and abusive. I mean, you just do like the Cesar Millan thing, like that hilarious video of the dachshund spinning around him. You've seen that video? It's so funny. And the same thing, like you just said, never had any discipline, turns around to bite him, and he like pins it on the ground with his hands, and he's going, and the dog's eyes are like bugging at him with head. It's just like that's what they need. That's what I tell my wife. Like, I gotta, sometimes I gotta like show you
assert your dominance.
I gotta
on your
assert
family.
my dominance. You may not like it in the moment, but you're gonna appreciate it. You're gonna thank me.
With your puppy, my sponsor's pup is doing the same thing. And they wanted me to come over to the house and inspect the setup they have for her. And I went over there. She went to jump on me, and she inflicted this on herself. I just raised my knee. Every time she went to jump on me, I raised my knee, and her chest would hit my knee. And she's like, what the heck? And so I was the only person standing in this backyard that she wasn't jumping on. And, I just didn't have to. And when she went to, playfully nip on my hand just started nipping her back, inside her gums. If she bites my hand's going to bite her back. And she didn't like that either. And within no time, she's following me around the backyard and hanging out by my leg because she's like, oh, this human knows what's up.
Yeah. She's like, what are we doing? Where are we going? What are we hunting? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to tell my wife and my son. It's the same thing. It's just a little puppy, doesn't know, has 100% respect for me, but with them, it's just solid. Like tonight, right before the show, we're eating dinner and the dog's jumping up on my wife's leg and she keeps yelling at it. And she, she's a good listener. So she stopped. But then as soon as she stood up, she just keeps jumping on her. So like, I don't know what we're going to do, but she definitely can learn.
Does your wife try to have conversations and reason with the dog the way my wife does with our German Shepherds?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
I told you not to do that. You need to sit down and she didn't do that.
No. My wife is calloused. She's calloused. Good thing she doesn't listen to the show. Very good stuff. Thank you so much for that information about mushing. And is there anything else that we missed? I feel like there's probably something that we're missing.
Well, I saw you'd posted about this crazy journey this pistol took.
Yeah. Yeah. So
can you tell us about that? And for people out there who have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah. My son was 15 when he was training for the Can-Am Crown, which is the Northeast premier dog sled race. And 3 nights before the race, moose attacked the team. And, we can get into that, but he had to off the moose. And so that was a big deal. Actually, Field and Stream magazine did an article about it.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so he was out on a training run. The thing with moose, by far in the north, the moose is the most dangerous animal in wintertime. The bear are asleep, and black bears are really they're a danger to other animals, but they're not much of a danger to a human, really. But unless you startle them, and they're real close. But anyway, the moose, for several reasons. If it's a bull and it's during rut, he's going to attack you. If it's a cow and she's got a calf, she's going to attack you. But the big thing for mushers, and there's a reason why there's so many musher moose interactions. The big thing with mushers is when the snow gets really deep, the moose want to stay on the pack trail. And when they see the wolf pack come up, when they see the dog team in their DNA, that's wolf pack, that's the enemy. And they know if I step off this trail, I'm going to be up in chest deep snow. And the wolves, I'm putting that in quotation marks, the wolves are going to have the advantage if I step off the trail. So they refuse to give the trail. And because they feel like the wolves will have their way with them if they get into the deep snow. So they stand their ground and they fight. And so this happens a lot. I mean, probably 2 or 3 times a winter, I hear stories, from somewhere about this. But he was. There was a Field and Stream magazine about that, and there's a snowstorm. It's in February. We're gutting this moose at midnight, 2:00 in the morning in a snowstorm. And because the game warden's like, okay, you can have the meat, you got to dress it out. And he came and checked out our story, made sure everything checked out, and then we got to keep the moose. But so you don't travel with a dog sled team without something that's going to stop a moose. The last time Dallas CV won the Iditarod, and this happens all the time, Susan Butcher years ago, your team goes around a corner, and before you get around the corner, because you got this long string of dogs in front of you, your dogs are already tangled up with the moose before you even know what's going on, because so much of the time you can't even see your lead dogs. You don't know what's around the corner and what they're already dealing with. So, I've got a 44 mag revolver, Peacemaker, and that's what I carry around with me, and it went on my expedition with me. But we had to do after the expedition was done, we had to do 5,000 miles across Canada to get back home. And my buddy flew down from Alaska and brought it back to me. So from February to now, I've been without it, and it's kind of like my baby.
So how did that work? So you traveled through the United States to get there.
We traveled from we crossed the border here, and we went all the way across the Trans-Canada into Alaska. We got caught, no joke, we got caught 18 hours in a blizzard before we even got to the start of the expedition.
Now, did you have your dogs or someone else's?
My dogs, yeah. And interesting point, it was my dogs that have been bred here for the last 100 years in Maine, this rare type of dog. And when we
That's
finished,
right. That's what you were telling me about the seal holes. Yeah.
And when we finished the expedition and came back, the state of Maine honored. There's only 5 breeders of these dogs in the world. I'm the only breeder of these dogs east of the Mississippi River, and the state of Maine made them the official state dog upon our return from the expedition.
Wow! Cool. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So this is probably a stupid question. You didn't mush there the whole time. You drove there, right?
Well, we drove the 5,000 miles there and to the start. So 100 years ago, it was a relay of 20 mushers that all lived along this route. But I did the whole route that all 20 mushers did and the trails that they use don't exist anymore. So we were breaking out trail.
Sounds hard.
It was pretty crazy.
Sounds insane.
Can you pack enough supplies for that, or did you have to stop along the way and get supplies?
So 100 years ago, they had roadhouses every 50 miles. They didn't have those anymore. It's actually less populated in this part of Alaska than it was 100 years ago because of the gold rush and everything. So we're just breaking trail a lot of times through wilderness. So since I didn't have those roadhouses to resupply, two of my buddies here in Maine, Jeff Kelly and Jamie Nichols, are, avid snowmobile backcountry guys, and they can fix anything anywhere. Jamie once fixed a transmission on a snowmobile with a piece of cardboard in the backcountry, up near Allagash. So these were the guys to bring with me, and they built custom built trailers behind their snowmobiles. And so I flew up supplies at 3 spots along the route for them to resupply, and then I'd get my resupplies from them.
Jeez, that's insane.
Yeah, it was a big undertaking.
Were you by yourself, or were there others?
No, it was just me. It was just my expedition. There have been reenactments of this before, but they always do it in March because the days are longer, the temperatures are warmer, and there's already trails put in. But I figured for the 100-year anniversary, someone needed to have the kahunas to do it in the actual conditions at the actual same time of year. So January 27th is when we started, and 20 days, just me and my 16 dogs from beginning to end.
Was it pretty spooky out there at night by yourself?
So yeah, it's funny. I call her the Athabascan queen of the Yukon River. My friend Cynthia, who's a native elder in one of the Yukon River villages, told me, she said, "You're going to have to sleep close to your dogs when you come here because the wolves have gotten so brave. They're just coming into town and grabbing dogs and dragging them out of town. And so you're going to have to keep an eye on your dogs while you're here." So it was the middle of the night, and I was about 3 hours from there, and I stopped to rest the dogs, fed the dogs, completely had forgotten about that. And so I lay back on my sled. It's pitch black, dark, and my dogs do their after meal howl. They're all howling. And when they stop howling, there's like an echo howl that starts in the woods that's lower. And I was like, "Oh, where's that revolver?" They never came out, and wolves are smart. They're not going to engage in a fight that they might lose or might even get injured in. As with any wild animal, I mean, out there, small injury can be the end. So they see a pack of dogs. They see wolves, with our sled dog team, and they usually don't want to engage a sled dog team because what they're seeing is just a big pack of wolves.
And a human.
Yeah, and a human.
Makes perfect sense.
A human that has beaver blood dripping out of his sled. So there was that too. And salmon.
Oh, wow. You were asking for it at that point. Polar bears, wolves, you got beaver blood everywhere. Like, what are you like trying? Jeez. Man. So how did you sleep? I want to know the details. I want to know how do you sleep in those kind of conditions? Are you taking the dogs off their harnesses and tethering them out, or are they just sleeping in place on the trail?
So I have a drop line, what I call a drop line, and it's cable. And it's just extra security so that I'm not worried about dogs getting loose so that I can actually fall asleep. And you'd really be surprised. I mean, some of the villages hosted us. I talked at some of the village schools along the way, and some of them had what they call potlatches, big community celebrations of the Serum Run, the 100-year anniversary, and they welcomed us like we were heroes. That was really cool. But you'd be surprised that, like, I'd never been in minus 50, minus 60 degree temperatures for long periods of time. I didn't know how I was going to take it. I did cold weather infantry in the Marine Corps, but we did that training here in Maine, where we might hit 20 below. We hit 40 below sometime, but it's like, for a night, you know what I mean? And so I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but it's all about the gear. And honestly, I had an extreme cold weather sleeping bag that I never even used because when I was out on the trail, just my clothing system was so dialed in that once I took care of the dogs, and I'm so tired, once I took care of the dogs, made sure their feet were good, make sure they're eating well, I could just collapse I'd actually have to set a timer on my phone. I'd say alarm 2 hours, and then I was out, every time. No question. It's amazing how your body adjusts to that stuff.
Are you covering your nose, your face? Like, how are you preventing frostbite while you're sleeping?
So my cheeks were black. When I finished, they were completely black. My toes and my fingers were frostbitten. But when I got into the blowhole, that was the worst. There's a documentary coming out. There's a North Face filmmaker that followed us, and Canadian North Face filmmaker. Shout out to Caleb Gingras. He and Jeremy Grant from Timber Cross Films are working on a documentary for this right now. But when we got to the blowhole, it was like someone was pouring boiling hot water, just the crack between my jacket and my work gloves. I had to put on smaller gloves, take the mittens off and put smaller gloves on to work, the snaps and everything on the dogs. So I had these shorter work gloves on, and just that small gap, that kink in the armor, it was like someone was pouring boiling hot water down my arm. It was so cold, and blisters all over the place. So it's a pretty crazy place. That's not somewhere you want to stay for long. The wind is the killer there.
So when you say your cheeks are black, did that like scab up or something?
Yeah. So the skin died here. I guess that's like, I don't know, one of the stages of frostbite where it's not even alive anymore. The skin on the cheeks were just dead. So it took a few weeks for that to come back. I've got a video.
Casey looks very concerned, by the way.
I have a video in the blowhole.
Insane. It's crazy.
I'm talking to the camera and my eyelashes are frozen together. I had to trim up my mustache halfway through the expedition because my mustache was freezing to my beard, and then I couldn't open my mouth. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I mean, it's like one of the most epic things like a human being can do is doing something like that.
Yeah, it was, I like I said, I was in the Marine Corps, and this was harder than boot camp and infantry school. This was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, bar none. It was pretty cool.
And so so I'm in the market for a new pair of long johns. What's your go-to? And you said North Face was following you. Like, were you were cruising through the Arctic in a North Face jacket? My homies.
Here's the thing with that. Like,
they're not that warm.
The mass-produced stuff is not going to cut it up there. There are some companies, and I'll just go ahead and shout out to them. High's Adventure Gear, Apocalypse Design. There's a couple companies that just focus strictly, and they're mom and pop places because there's not a big market for it. They're not selling to masses of people. They're selling to this very small niche of people who are stupid enough to spend days exposed in these temperatures. But that's where you buy the gear. You have to buy the gear you have to buy the stuff that is specifically designed for what you're going out to do. The mass produced stuff isn't going to cut it.
Okay. That's very good to know. Yeah. I got a friend of mine. He does snowmobiling excursions, and they do every year. They live in upstate New York. They live about an hour and a half. Well, they don't live there, but that's their upstate house. And they will drive out their garage in upstate New York, and they will go all the way up through Alaska, all the way up in the Arctic Circle, make a big, huge loop, and come back down.
Yeah, that's sick.
And I've seen, and I'm like, dude, what if your freaking sled just blows up? Like, you're just going to freeze to death? Like, I don't understand. But he's got all the gear, same thing like you're talking about, like the boots that look like you would go on the moon with them.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're just white or just weird. Like, you could tell they're just they're made for what he's going to do. They're not there's no logos on them,
Yeah, it's just, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? That saying, and that's how you do expeditions like that. You don't think about the whole expedition. You think about from here to here. And what you're going to need to get from here to here. And then you think about, you take it in these little chunks, and then you put all the pieces together. It's the only way you can pull that kind of stuff off.
I mean, that's good life advice right there, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And the dogs were eating, you mentioned beaver meat.
Here's what's crazy, man. My dogs have never experienced that stuff either, and they have been bred in the lower 48 for the last 100 years. So I didn't know how they were going to handle it. But when we got to the extremes, there were like 2 times in this expedition where I thought I could literally die right now. I could literally freeze to death and die. In those moments, even like 70% of my team was working hard. I had, a quarter of my team was, not really doing as much work as they should. But when the crap hit the fan, I mean, when we were really up against it, it's like they all just locked in and, I don't know, DNA hardwiring, their spirit, call it whatever it is. But like, I'm just standing back there saying, Jonathan, don't say a word. You're going to screw this up. This is beautiful. This is the worst weather I've ever been in my life. And the dogs were acting like frat boys at a frat party, just like, woo, yeah, let's go, and it's in those moments that you realize, okay, you are a tropical naked monkey, but these guys are where they're supposed to be, Yeah.
Jeez, man, that's so awesome. I got a million questions. I just don't want to drag on the show with like all these questions. I just want to know, like, did you have backup dogs like in the sled if you needed them?
In the Iditarod, you start with 16 dogs and you drop dogs along the way. Most teams end with 8 in the race in the Iditarod, which roughly follows generally the same route, but 2 months later, when it's warmer. And in the original run, although it was a relay of 20 teams, 5 dogs died because of the extremes. So I had a challenge, and that was not only am I not going to lose a dog, but all 16 of my dogs are going to cross into Nome. All 16 of my dogs are going to finish this. And the 16 I started with, all 16 of them marched fat and sassy into Nome. And I was proud, man. I was really proud.
I bet Nome's a weird place, isn't it?
Nome is an interesting place. It's such a hodgepodge of like cultures, and there's a strong Norwegian influence there. There's a strong Eskimo influence there. There's some Athabascans, and then you have all of the people like us who go up there. My brother's on the North Slope of Alaska right now, teaching, because they pay so well in the schools up there. So he goes up there for the school year and teaches. So you've got the doctors and the nurses and the teachers from the lower 48 that go up there to make money. And I like you, Aaron, I grew up in the South. I'm a 6th generation Tennessean, and like some of these places are just, it feels like I'm walking on those old sacred battlefields, like they're that sacred to me, I just feel the sense of connection to them like you would when you're walking on a battlefield where my great-great-grandfather fought on this battlefield, and lost one of his sons there, like I feel that same kind of connection with my dogs when I'm going through these places.
I bet you do. I could imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet though, like as you were describing it, where it started getting cold and you were borderline concerned about your own safety, and then the dogs kind of kicked in. I mean, I would imagine, like, just hearing it, like, I'm not an emotional guy. I mean, I think Aaron was shedding some tears, but like, that sounds like it really does sound like an emotional kind of thing where like your life is in their hands. You guys train all the time. Like, that's got to be like something very emotional as well. Right.
There were times. There was one time in the expedition where I saved my leaders. They broke through the ice. They were floundering, could not self-rescue. So I did the low crawl out on the ice to rescue them. When I grabbed them and started to lift them up, I went through the ice, couldn't touch the bottom. And this was, it said 50 below in Manly Hot Springs when I got there 2 or 3 hours later. I can't remember now. It's in the book. It was at least 50 below. They said down in the valley where I was, it was probably 10 or 15 degrees colder than it was in Manly. So it could have been 60, 65 below. And I was completely submerged. My dogs were completely submerged. And in that moment, I saved them. they shut down on me and I saved them. But then 2 times later in the expedition, they're the ones who just like, when I was fearful and thinking, I don't think I can do this. This is crazy. Like something primal just kicked in with my dogs and they were like, we got this, and I was just like, thank you, Yeah.
Jeez.
Did you ever wake up
goodness.
to a dog licking you on the face?
Often. Yeah.
I'm going to say you pass out and you wake up and there's a dog.
Are you talking about Iron Will? You're talking about the Iron Will movie?
It's like it's happened in many movies.
All those Disney movies. Yeah. The Disney movies.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if a dog gets wet in those kind of temperatures, if you get wet in those kind of temperatures, you're pretty much dead.
So here's what's crazy. So we went through the water and I do what they taught me to do in the Marine Corps. I paddle kick and I'm sliding back onto the ice while I'm holding onto the harnesses of my dogs and I get them up, but I still got to cross the ice because I'm on the wrong side. And so we go across, we fall through again. The second time we go through, my dogs were like, oh, look, a human bridge to the other side. So like I said, like they were not the, like collie lassie saving, their master this night. Like they would just gladly just march. 16 dogs just marched over me while I'm like, in the water. And so I get up and I'm like frantically working, getting their gang lines are freezing together. Their coats are freezing. Everything's freezing. I'm freezing up. I'm walking like this had never happened to me before. Took off my gloves to work their snaps. Their ice immediately formed on my hand. I'd brush it off. And as soon as I would brush it off, ice would immediately form on my hand again. And I'd brush it off and ice would immediately, I'd never seen that before in my life. So, get them out. And then I hear a voice that said, okay, John, what do we do now? And I was like, Jesus, like, where's this voice coming from? And it was the cameraman. So, I mean, it's going to be in the documentary. Because he's like, and I'm like, the dude's just standing there filming this the whole time.
Yeah, he's hoping, he's kind of like low key hoping you're going to die.
And I'm like, Caleb, you said you wanted drama. Here's your drama, man. And so the best thing for me, he said, do you want to stop and start a fire? That would have been the best thing for me, but I'm not going to get 16 dogs around a fire. The dogs know instinctively what to do. They're pulling balls of ice from their coats and they're rolling around in the snow that gets more moisture out of their coat, and they shake that off and then they pull the ice off again. So for the dogs, I needed to get moving. And so I mushed that last, and I can't remember whether it was 2 or 4, somewhere in there, 2 or 4 hours. I'm guessing it was at least 2, in the middle of the night, completely covered in ice from head to toe. And crazy enough, with the gear I had on, the ice on the outside shell, I honestly believe that became a protector, because it was like this protective layer. I mean, ice is ice, and so then my body just seemed to be heating up the area between this ice crust over my body. And so I actually felt, other than my feet, when I got to Manly Hot Springs, I couldn't get my boots off because they were frozen to my bibs. So I had to take the bibs off with the boots. And when I did, I realized that my 2 layers of wool socks were frozen. My socks were frozen to the inside of the boot. And so the socks were frozen and came off with the boots. So, but 100 years ago, the native that ran that same run 100 years before me for that leg of the Serum run, the what do you call it? The roadhouse owner had to come out and pour boiling water over his hands to get his hands off of the sled. So it's similar circumstances, I guess.
I would question whether or not I was actually dry in there. I'd be like, I wonder if I'm just numb and like I'm like soaked to the bone.
I think I was there, and my thought was Manly Hot Springs was a village. The natives were waiting there to welcome us there, and they did graciously. And I just thought, I can push till we get there. There's food, there's hay and straw for the dogs. There's, for bedding, and, I can just push there, and then I can take care of them the way they need to be taken care of.
I bet that was incredible rolling into town after being out there in that.
The guys on the snow machines, they come out of the native hall when I pull up, and it was literally, I kid you not, it was like 4:00 in the morning. I come out and they were like, man, we were just about to come out and come looking for you. And I'm like, I wish you would have. But yeah, we made it.
So, okay. So that was the last. So you fell into the ice like right before, like not right before, but like 20 miles roughly before you were going to reach the end, or at least a waypoint.
Just one of the villages.
One of the villages to stop. Were you trying to reach a specific place every night, or were you just pulling over and stopping?
So I had in my head, mostly because I wanted to do, and I did several. I spoke at 3 village churches and 4 village schools along the way. So I tried to keep to a schedule as best I could. There's a couple things that set it off. Like that night, the guys, my snow machiners, man, I give them a hard way to go, but they were on their own expedition, fighting their own hardships. And, it was so rough. They had to go the entire distance of the previous day back to get the supplies after they broke the trail, and then come back with the supplies. So they were doing double or triple the mileage I was doing.
It's I just don't even, honestly, I just don't know what to say. It's incredible stuff.
Yeah,
man.
same.
When we got into this conversation, I had no idea that you had done this. So this is blowing my mind.
Yeah. So what got all this started was I did a small expedition back in 2021. And there was a documentary made about that called True North Legends of Dogs and Men, and it's on YouTube now. But that documentary, when it came out, I got some sponsors, Native Dog Food and Continental Kennel Club and some other sponsors came on board to sponsor me. And so when you have sponsors, you can start to dream big a little bit and take some risks.
It's like me and Casey with our sponsors.
Yeah, we got a couple sponsors.
We're getting ready to go to Africa and shoot a couple lions at $100,000 a piece.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill a giant elephant because our sponsors are paying for it. No, sponsors are great. I mean, that's a huge plus. But you had to do a big expedition before that you would have the opportunity to get that.
Yeah,
right?
So I did a solo 1 week long. It was small compared to what I just did. A 1 week solo expedition. And there was a small film made about that got me a lot of attention. And then when the sponsors came on, everyone was asking what's next. And I'm like, well, the 100-year anniversary of my breed's coming up, Saving the Children of Nome, Alaska. Disney's made 3 movies about it. So I think it's worth reenacting. So that's how that came about.
So cool.
So what's next?
So what's next? I'm signed up for the 250-mile race here in northern Maine. It's the Northeast Premier Dog Sled Race, the Can-Am Crown 250. Iditarod mushers, Yukon Quest mushers from Alaska drive over to do this race. This is a really quality, competitive race. Being that I run purebreds, my goal isn't to win the race. My goal is to finish it. I plan on beating all the other purebred teams, and I plan on running race times that would be consistent with what my dogs were doing 100 years ago, just to prove that they're still the dogs that they were a century ago. So running the Can-Am and training this hawk, man, and getting out. And I know it's not, I hear you guys say it's not about the numbers, and then we talk about numbers. The game is tough up here, the lack of game and target species. So I'm going to be, when I get my first, I'm going to be elated.
What I saw up there, if you catch, let's say you caught 20 things this season, that's good. That's 80. Impressive.
That's 80 down south, and that's 400 out west.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm almost happy that I got a tiercel, because we don't have gray squirrels. We don't have fox squirrels. We got the little red squirrels. and they're
Those are
smaller.
cute little guys.
They're smaller. They're faster. And we have partridge in the woods, and maybe a tear soul will be able to catch one of those.
Snowshoe hare. He'll crush some snowshoe hare.
And definitely going after the hare. That's going to be my number one. Even if I have to, I've got some buddies that guide out in Allagash. Even if I have to say, hey guys, help me, find some good numbers of snowshoe hare so I can give this bird some opportunity to make some kills.
Hey, listen, I'll come up and help you. My number one species is a snowshoe hare, followed closely by rough grouse. And I could die happy. That's all I want to do. So I'll come up with you. I mean, we were talking about it. Me and friend of the show, Harrison, we were talking about going up north there and paying somebody, and leave your dogs at home. We'll bring our own dogs. Just point us in the right direction. We'll pay you. Just leave us alone. You can come with us, but we don't want your beagles getting in there and killing our birds or whatever. But just put us where they are and let us. We'll work it till our feet fall off.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. And you don't have to work your beagles. Just take us where they're at and let us do our thing. And I know some guys. So, and I'm sure the Caracas, I'm sure they know some people. They're a couple hours south of me, but you guys have an open invitation. And once I dial in this, falconry by dog sled, you come up and do that with me too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We could do some mushing.
Can you fit 2 husky boys on there with you?
Oh yeah.
I can see Aaron laid back in the sled while I'm mushing it. with his giant feet hanging out the front.
I'm not as big as Aaron, but I'm 6 foot tall and 200 and none of your business pounds.
I can kind of imagine Casey with the dogs, running with the dogs.
Shut up, dude. You're so rude.
Maybe dropping a deuce while he runs.
Just like
way to tie it right back into the beginning.
Of course.
Oh man. All right. Well, we can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing some of this, and please keep us posted. We're very, speaking for both of us, we're very curious how this season's going to go.
Well, I look forward to having you guys on Explorer. It's primarily a mushing podcast, kind of how you guys are primarily a falconry podcast, but you don't strictly do that. It's kind of what I do with mushing on my show, and looking forward to having both of you guys on, and maybe we can talk falconry over there and cross-populate our listeners.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
It'd be fun. I mean, I feel like a musher sometimes with these dogs, man, trying to keep them working.
You have enough dogs.
I'm like, hike, and they're like, they're like, want to go back to the truck, and I'm like, hike.
I've got a team of 8 dachshunds. I could start a dachshund mushing team. But you did say something earlier about the dogs. There's like an illusion of control over those dogs, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with falconry. We have as much control as the bird's willing to accept, because at the end of the day, they could just fly off if they wanted to.
Yeah. And, with my lead, I have right now, he's getting old, but I have right now the best lead dog I've ever had in my life. His name's Druid. And he's got one eye. And he led this whole expedition with one eye.
Wow. And
the dude is just a beast. And every time my buddies come up to mush with me, I'm like, yeah, take Druid. He's my best dog, and they always come back cursing him. And they're like, you say that's your best dog? He won't pull. He keeps stopping. He keeps turning around and looking at me. And it's because who's on the sled and who's not on the sled.
He ain't got no respect for you. That's why. You should come back and not even tell me that.
Yeah.
Now I have to look at you differently, that you're not a man.
If my dog doesn't respect you,
if you come back and say my dog is stopping and looking back at you, like, dude, you gotta look at yourself in the mirror, bro. You gotta get that test level up. You gotta figure something out. You know what I'm saying?
They need to choke slam Druid, and then he'll respect him.
I mean, Druid sounds like a bad mofo. He'll probably just killed him in the woods somewhere.
He is. I after I chopped up the beaver for everybody else who's a little underweight, I just the carcass that was left. He got the the lion's share. So when I left him, to come in for this podcast, he was mowing on a beaver carcass.
Good for him. I'd love to. I mean, you post a decent amount, but I think you could post more. Because I personally, after talking to you, like I want to see like what your day is like. I want to see the dogs. I want to see like a close up of Druid's face with one eye, and I love all that stuff, man. You have a really interesting life, and yeah, like Aaron, I was gonna try to like leave Aaron alone and kind of like throw him under the bus because I didn't know that you did that expedition either.
Yeah,
I was trying to act like I knew, but I did not know that. That's incredible.
Thanks, buddy.
See, but yeah. I'm making up for it now, though.
The state acknowledged it by making it the state dog, and the guys were overly anxious. The two filmmakers, they were hoping to have the film out by the end of this year. That's obviously not going to happen, but I did because I wanted my book to be out before their film came out. I frantically, when I came back from the expedition, I took my journal and I just started hammering out a book. And Casey, I heard you on a podcast just before it published talking about how you like a lot of pictures. So, so I reached out to Caleb Gingra, the North Face filmmaker that came along, and I said, I want to make this like a tabletop, like a coffee table edition. Like I want tons of color photos, which means I'm not making any money off of it because every page is full color.
Correct.
But this book is gorgeous, and it's got some scenery in it like you wouldn't believe. So yeah, I might as well do the plug. 100 Winters, Retracing the Great Race Against Death. It's on Amazon, so you guys should check it out.
Oh, I'm definitely. I'm definitely I'm getting that book. Man, thank you for that. And yeah, and then we'll do a follow up when the film comes out, because I want to know. And I also want to know, was that guy like rocking like Tim's and a North Face like jacket while he was out there following you around, or did he have to put the North Face stuff to the side and get the real gear, or is he not allowed to talk about that?
He can't talk about it, but I can talk about it. We outfitted him in the proper gear.
No, he was not wearing North Face out there where you were. No way.
You might have been wearing North Face something.
Actually, it's funny you bring it up. That minus 78 blowhole I was telling you about, the wind is like literally gale force winds, and we're trying to deal with the dogs, and he reaches into his sled bag and he has this big, beautiful, puffy North Face jacket that's got to be $300 or $400, and it just went right out into the Bering Sea, and I saw him just go like this, and I was like, it's gone, man. It's gone.
A polar bear's rocking that thing right
That's
now.
right. You'll see some seal wearing it.
Yeah. Man, what an incredible story. I mean, I was there with you, man. Maybe I just got a good imagination, but while you were talking, I was picturing the whole thing. I pictured like the adrenaline rush of like feeling like you may die, and then when you fell in the water, that had to be like terrifying.
Yeah.
When you first hit the water, I would imagine that's like, I'm dead, or I got to do something right now.
The hurricane force winds and the temps, that's where I thought I was going to die. Weirdly and oddly enough, and I don't know where it came from, but I had this sense of calm when I went through the water. Like I just had this sense of calm over me. This peace, that surpasses understanding, I guess. And was really grateful for that, because looking back on it and looking at the video, it's a little scary. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could imagine. Aaron doesn't know about that piece. We got to help him find that piece.
But hey, listen, once we have enough snow to be running sleds, because to Aaron's point, riding on wheeled carts is not a lot of fun. It's not fun for the dogs. It's not fun for the musher. But once we get on snow and get sleds, you guys bring your hawks up. You're welcome to come, and I'll take you mushing. You take that 100%. Off your bucket list.
100%. Yeah, we get invited every year to the hare meet up there. I'm not going to say the town because I don't want to spoil it, but there is a hare meet that they have. I've never had the chance to make it. I mean, that's probably halfway. Actually, I don't even think so, because that's only 7 hours from me. And Dennis and Tammy are 9 from me, and you're 2 from them.
From them, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not a bad drive. I'll do that, and that's easy. anything under 10 is anything 10 or under is easy. That's not a big deal.
Dennis and Tammy love you, and you guys are welcome here too. We got plenty of bedrooms in this house.
Perfect. And we love them, and we appreciate all of you guys. And this is what an episode this was, man. This was incredible.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for your time.
Honored to be here.